downloaded in over 2,000 cities, over 60 countries, and in all 50 states. You can find us on YouTube at Follow the Action, all types of exclusive content, all types of free picks. We're going to go through the entire UFC card tonight with the best combat sports handicapper on the planet today, and Mr. Dave Mason from Bet Online will go through all the sharp money going, where the public money's going. We'll go through the entire card, give you all the information that you need. So Joey Odessa, Mr. Joey Bagels, best combat sports handicapper in the world. Are you ready?
Yeah, well, I'm ready. We just cashed out on that Anthony Joshua total. This referee, Wallace or whatever his name was, this fight shouldn't have gone out of the third round shouldn't have completed. He had Pulev turned his back on him. Referee, a different referee probably would have stopped that fight. Maybe a more experienced ref. I didn't see who the ref. I didn't recognize the ref, but horrible ref. I mean, bad beat for anybody who had under, but we had over, so we don't care about that.
We don't care at all. Yeah. I think he doesn't care because, from what we understand, he looks like a male supermodel and can't show himself on any type of video because he'd make people go crazy. It's Mr. Dave Mason from Bet Online. Dave, how you doing down there by the equator?
I'm good, man. Beautiful weather down here. The rain's slowing down, so it's time to, get out on the beach and work on my suntan.
Dave,
welcome back, Mason. Welcome back.
Hey, thanks. Thank you, man. Did a little
Dave,
travel.
how much action you guys take on the Josh? I don't want no dollars amount. I don't want you to give out any,
right.
information that shouldn't go out. But how much action do you take, say, compared to, say, UFC or major big boxing matches you take on something like Josh?
Yeah, the daytime hurts it a little bit, to tell you the truth. It definitely hurts it. If the fight was tonight, it'd take twice the action. So, it does decent, but it's just not, our bread and butter is our 95% of our bettors at least are in North America, and they're all watching college football during the day, and they're not even thinking fights yet. So the serious boxing guys will bet it, but those casual guys that are, they're not gonna bet it as much. So it does okay, but if it does Wilder Fury, something like that at night, or if Joshua fought one of those two at night, it would blow it out of the water.
Yeah,
Fury's going to beat Joshua. Fury's going to beat shit out of Joshua.
Let's get started with the first fight. We got 10 fights, and just so everybody knows out there that's listening, for those that will come in late or worried you might miss something, right before the main event, I'll go over the picks that Joey Odessa has picked. That way you have a running record of what we got. The first fight on the prelim show, it is Mr. Chase Hooper, I got these odds as of either last night or early this morning, so they obviously all will have changed, and Dave Mason from Bet Online will correct me. Chase Hooper is minus 300 against Peter Barrett, who's plus 250. Chase Hooper has a 9-1-1 record. He's a southpaw. They call him the Dream. He's breaks down into 3 wins by knockout, none by being knocked out, and he's 4-0 as far as submissions. Never been stopped himself. His sole loss was in his last fight. It was the only fight of 2020 against Alex Caceres. He lost by unanimous decision back in June. Fighting Peter Barrett, as I mentioned earlier in this featherweight matchup, Peter Barrett is 11-4, 7-1 as far as KOs, TKOs, 2-2 as far as submissions. Also a southpaw. They call him Slippery. He lost his only fight of 2020. That was to Yusuf Zalal, the Moroccan Devil. The over-under is 2.5, and again, these odds will definitely have changed. It costs you get plus 155 to bet on the over. Dave Mason from Bet Online, where do you have the money?
The odds haven't changed too much from when you saw them earlier. The over right now is 2.5, still pays plus 160. The bettors on Hooper. 77% of the tickets are on Hooper, but the money's pretty split. 53% of the cash is on Hooper. Under's getting bet big. 84% is on under 2.5, which is currently minus 200.
Any sharp money, David?
No, nothing sharp here. Bet Online.
Joey Odessa, what do you got in this first fight of the prelim match?
I didn't bet it, but you need your head examined to go bet a 9-1 kid laying this kind of price. This inexperienced. Hooper, he beat that bad Timor brother. There's 2 Timor kids, and he beat the worst of the 2. And he lost to Alex Caceres, who's gives an honest fight every time out. a pass for me, but I don't think you could bet. I wouldn't bet Hooper here. Look, Hooper was on. Both these guys were on the Contender Series. Both won, and Hooper didn't even get signed right away to the best. Yeah, I don't think Hooper got signed. The other kid didn't after beating that Korean kid. Anyways, yeah, I think this price is too high to weigh on Hooper.
And you're not touching the over/under on this either, Joey?
No. Next kid's durable, though. That Youssef beat the shit out of him in his last fight out of that Barrett. 10-8 round. I think it was 10-8 second round. I mean, he smoked him. So the kid, the kid takes a beating.
Which might negate the 84% of the public's on the under.
Yeah, this bout, I don't, no opinion there. I just total pass for me.
All right, next fight is a women's strawweight matchup. Tecia Torres, the tiny tornado she's called. She is a decision machine. 11-5, and all 16 bouts have gone to decision. She is 0-0 on KOs, TKOs, 1-0 on submissions. She had one fight in 2020. She won that by unanimous decision, of course, against Brianna Van Buren. She lost her previous 4 fights, though, all by unanimous decision. Fighting
Sam Hughes. To talent to add in there. I mean, she lost to talent. All those guys that beat her were, all those girls that beat her, all champs. Sorry, JB, I didn't mean to cut
No, that's okay. That's okay. That's a great note. Thank you.
On paper, you look at
the records can be deceiving. Sometimes totally. Guys come in from places you don't know where they're from. You can't figure out their record. It's a world of difference when you're losing against top talent.
Exactly.
Sam Hughes is her opponent. She's plus 450. She is 5-1, 1-0 as far as KOs, TKOs, 3-1 as far as submissions. They call her Sam Page. She's 2-1 in 2020. Her sole loss was in a title fight against Vanessa Demopoulos, who she lost by triangle choke in the 4th round. This strawweight matchup has a 2.5 total of rounds to bet on. It cost you minus 310 to take the over in this. Dave Mason from Bet Online. What do you have the money?
Yeah, like I've said before, whenever there's such a big favorite, the money and the bettors are usually on the dog, and there's no difference here. 78% of the bets are on Hughes, and 56% of the cash is on Hughes as well. Even though Torres going to decision is usually a stone cold lock, 71% of the bettors are on the under, and that's just because pays that plus 245. Those over under bettors usually aren't laying 3-1 on fights. They're usually taking the plus money on these MMA fights, and like I said, 71% is on under 2.5 plus 245. Nothing sharp here.
It has the odds on Torres. It was minus 600 as of earlier today. Has that changed much?
Minus 650 right now. Take back on Hughes is plus 475.
Joey, what do you have on this fight?
Oh man, the number's so high. They put you on the dog. I mean, it didn't open that high. It got bumped up. What did it open, Dave? You said?
Minus 450. We opened it.
Yeah, and now they're just pushing it up. That's. I think Torres wins the fight. I think there are different levels of opposition here. I saw that one loss that this girl had, but I think Tecia Torres fights an entirely different kind of fight. I can't lay it, but I think Torres wins it.
She does not have any power, Joey. Is that the right? She's 11-5. All 16 have gone to decision.
She's like a point fighter, She's a good stand. Sorry, Joey. She's like a point fighter, pitter patter, good stand up, but just not those little girls too. They don't have a lot of knockout power either, man. They just, but she's good stand up. It's just not powerful. Am I right, Joey? I mean, you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I would say so. Torres is just a different kind of fighter. I saw the girl that beat Hughes. I saw that triangle. It was pretty. I think she knocked her out cold. I don't think the girl tapped, if I recall correctly. So she got hard. She's tough, man. She's gritty. That's where these guys get caught speeding. I would not be shocked if the guys were walking to the bridge with a parlay buster in the first 2 bouts. I think they're overpriced. But I'm not. If you bet stuff that's overpriced, the opposite side, I think you need to bet all of it all the time consistently. Because if you try to pick and zig and zag, that's the bookmakers will just they'll eat you alive. If I was a guy that was just betting again, value, scalp, and things like that, and took a lead on Torres. But no, you can't bet the fight. Pass.
Next fight is a more even matchup. It is a featherweight matchup, still on the prelim card. Gavin Tucker, Canadian southpaw, called him the Governor. He is 12-1. His breakdown of his bouts goes to 4-0 as far as KOs, TKOs, 6-0 as far as submissions. So he has never been stopped himself. His sole loss came to Rick Glenn in 2017. It was a unanimous decision. He's fighting Billy Quarantillo, who is -160. Again, this is earlier today. 15-2 record, 6-1 as far as KOs, TKOs, 5-0 as far as submissions. He has won his last 8 fights. He's fought 2 times in 2020. Both of those were victories against Nelson, September, KO3, Carlisle, May, unanimous decision. 2.5 is the total on the over-under of the rounds. It cost you -190 to bet the over in this fight. Dave Mason from Bet Online, where do you have the money?
Yeah, first up, a little update on odds. Quarantillo now is -175. The tape back on Tucker's +150. And the over 2.5 is now up to -205. The actions on Quarantillo, 65% of the bettors and 74% of the cash. And we did take some sharp action on him as well at about -125.
And anything on the over-under?
It's pretty split, 56% on the under.
But no sharp money on the over-under?
No.
Joey Odessa, what do you got in this fight, Mr. Birthday Boy?
Hey, it's a few days past. Dave, the guys across town in Eckes building, they opened up Tucker $1.35. I don't know what they were thinking.
Really?
Yeah, they opened him at $1.35. Wow. But anyways, that didn't last long. Quarantillo, I think Quarantillo's the right side. There's some sharp guys that I know that aren't Quarantillo. Casey from Sports Illustrated likes Quarantillo. I think Quarantillo's the right side. The number got away from me. When I saw that -135 opener on the Canadian and missed it, I don't want to start chasing numbers. I didn't think it would get up. I mean, what is it right now? It's $1.70, $1.85.
Yeah, $1.75.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for me to go lay $1.70 or $1.85 when I saw +110 on it. You know what I mean? It just you go broke chasing that steam like that. But I think Quarantillo's the right side.
Joey, you like it, but you wouldn't bet it because of the price.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think he's probably an all right play at -170. I think he should have opened there. I had this penciled in at what, 68%, which was which made him -200. And again, when he was plus money or when he was pick 'em, it was a bargain for me. But now that it's already up there and I'm getting 30 cents less than my number, I mean, if there wasn't so much, if I didn't bet so much on this card already, I pulled the trigger on Quarantillo. But I just, other percentages I had matched up differently.
If you were on house money, you'd bet it.
Oh, sure. If I was on house money, I'd bet Quarantillo for sure. I think he's a good play. I mean, he qualifies as a play on my chart, but again, I mean, I'm extended. You get a half a dozen plays on, half dozen sides, a couple totals with these favorites, 3-1 later. That adds up. It's like 29 G's. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, even for a birthday boy like you.
Yeah, I mean that extra.
A supermodel like Dave Mason, that's nothing, man. He had like Giselle. They're like supermodels. They had all kinds of money.
That extra 1,700 puts me over the top. You know what I mean? I can't break that 30 threshold. Anyway,
next fight is also an even matchup. It is a lightweight matchup. It is Renato Moicano, +120. Now, remember, this was earlier today. He's 14-3-1. The Brazilian is 0-2 as far as KOs, TKOs, 7-1 as far as submissions. His sole fight in 2020, he won by submission in March against Hotzovic, the Bosnian Herzegovian. A submission in the first round. He had 2 losses, though, in 2019. He was KO'd in the first and in the second round, those 2 fights. Fighting Rafael Fiziev from Kyrgyzstan. They call him Ottoman. He's 8-1, 5-1 as far as submissions. TKOs, 1-0 as far as submissions. Sorry if I said that wrong. His sole loss was a KO in the first round by Mustaviev, the Russian. This lightweight matchup has a 2.5 round total. almost evenly split, minus 115 as of earlier today to take the over. Dave Mason from Bet Online, where do you have the money?
Yeah, first update on the odds. Fiziev is minus 121 and Moicano is plus 101 right now. The over-under is still 2.5. Overs minus 122. 57% of the bettors are on Moicano and 67% of the cash is on Fiziev. 65% is on the over, and there's some sharp action on Moicano at about plus 130-ish. So once again, it's plus 101.
Sharp action plus 130 on Moicano. And Joey Odessa, what do you got on this fight?
This Moicano, I bet Moicano here. Here's why. Normally, I think he's up in weight. This is at 55 again. But Fiziev here, he's got that win over Diakisi or Deiveson, however you say his name, by decision. And Tecia, I believe Tecia was on the slide. He was a fade. Alex White, who doesn't beat Alex White? He's just there to be beat. He's not, he's like not even a gatekeeper. He's probably below that. And he got hit with that spinning back fist against the Russian. When Moicano got that win over Cub Swanson, they seem to like Cub Swanson today. He got a good win over Qatar too, who I think is pretty good. I'm sure he did lose to Aldo and Jung, but anyways, bounce back. I think this is a good spot for Moicano here. I like Moicano. I bet Moicano. What did I lay? I laid. What did I lay here? Oh, I took $1.10. I took $1.10. I took him late.
That going up to 155 could help him too, man. He was looking so emaciated at 145, and I think that's caught up to him once he, you mentioned the guys he was losing to at 145, and they were all, top-notch guys, even though Aldo is kind of over the hill still. So that'll be interesting to see how he performs at 155 instead of his old 145.
Yeah, I think he wins. He was a 3-1 favorite, up to a 5-1 favorite in his last fight. He was almost 3-1 over Jung too. Aldo about pick him, but anyway, he was 3.5-1 over Cub Swanson. Not that the numbers matter of the past, but I think Moicano is a great spot here at plus money. I had Moicano penciled in at like 56%. Which would have made him the favorite. I like Moicano here.
So you think the wrong person is favored here, Joy?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Dave, I want to ask you a question. I said something about
what's that?
What have you priced the Logan Paul fight yet with Mayweather?
Yeah, we did. Like minus 5,000 or something, Mayweather.
I saw minus 5,000, I think.
Yeah. A fight like that's risky because it's another one of these exhibitions. So what the hell does that mean? When the Tyson Roy Jones fight came out months ago, we raced to put it up, and other books did, and none of us knew it was going to be a freaking exhibition, whatever the hell that means. So then
but me.
And then they're changing rules and all this other BS, and so who knows what the rules on this exhibition are going to be? And
if it was a straight fight, what would be the odds?
Well,
price is it too high?
If it was a straight fight, minus 5,000 is fine. It can be even higher, to tell you the truth. Yeah. But it goes back to you have to have risk management involved here too, because like I said earlier, these fights, people just bet the dogs. They just bet the dog. If you're having minus 5,000 out there, no one's going to be betting minus 5,000. So we're not going to take any money, which isn't a bad thing if you're not taking any money on the right side. But that being said, you don't want it so lopsided. The perfect example was Mayweather-McGregor a few years ago. We were the first to open it, and I said, let's open it minus 2,500. Take back was plus 1,000 or plus 1,200 or whatever the hell it was. And I said, this is too low. This is way too low. It should be minus 5,000 or even higher. But we're going to open it here a little lower than it should be, because the only people who are going to bet this early are just going to be taking Conor McGregor at plus 1,000, plus 1,200, whatever. So it doesn't matter if you're giving them plus 2,500 or plus 1,200. They're just going to keep betting it. So, and what turns out, but there was so much action on this damn fight that it was the bargain of the century. It closed minus 400-ish Mayweather. It should have been way higher. Everybody knew that. Sharps will never get a bargain like that ever again. But there was so much action on McGregor that we had to be ultra conservative and just give the Sharps a nice present there. So yeah, I mean, there's when it fights, I mean, there's a difference between the true odds and what you're gonna,
and what you post.
Yeah, exactly. On a fight like that, a lot of fights we can gamble, we can gamble on a lot of fights. It doesn't matter. We take a position, whatever. But on a fight like that, when you have those big dog odds and all that public money coming in on this Logan, whatever his name is, or the McGregor a few years ago, etc., that you just have to be a little bit careful. Because plus 1,200, plus 1,500 or something, it doesn't take a lot of bets to frickin' have an absolutely massive liability for us.
Sure. Next fight up, still on the prelim part, the last fight on the prelims for the UFC tonight, and it is Cub Swanson in the featherweight matchup. Odds as of earlier today were plus 140 on Cub Swanson. He's been around a while, so has his opponent Daniel Pineda. 26-11 is Cub Swanson's record. 11-1 as far as KOs, TKOs. 4-7 as far as submissions, wins and losses. He won his last fight in 2019 against Kron Gracie by unanimous decision. He lost his previous 4 before that. He fighting Daniel Pineda, who is minus 160 as of earlier today. 27-13, 40 fights in MMA in the octagon. 9-2 as far as KOs, TKOs. 18 submissions, 6 losses by submission. They call him the Pit. Has had 1 fight in 2020. It was a win over Herbert Burns, KO in the second round. 2.5 is the over-under on the round total, and it's evenly split as of earlier today at minus 110, minus 110. Dave Mason from Bet Online, where do you have the money?
They're on Pineda. 72% of the cash is on them. 53% of the bettors are on them. 72% is on under nothing sharp here. The quick odds update, minus 162 in Pineda, take backs plus 142 on Swanson, over under 2.5. It's almost a coin flip. Overs minus 105.
Joey Odessa, what have you got on this last fight on the prelim card?
I bet Daniel Pineda. I think both these guys got Cubs 26-11, Pineda's 27-13, double-digit losses. Yeah. But Pineda's come full circle, man. I look at Pineda. He's 2-0 at the PFL. But, he was on pace to fight for that $1 million. I don't know how much they make each time they advance. But anyways, Cub. I mean, look, Cubs and on. Cubs like an. I don't want to. I'm not comparing them technique wise to Alex Caceres, but Cubs one of those guys that if you're not a well-rounded fighter, if you're one-dimensional, he's going to beat you. He's going to give you an honest fight. I mean, he beat Kron Gracie. Again, Gracie, jiu-jitsu, that's the last bout he won. Before that, he lost what? He lost 4 in a row. Ortega, Edgar, to Moicano, who's on this card, and to Burgos. Now, they're all real good, formidable fighters. And, but in this case here, I think Pineda's better. I think Pineda's, the better fighter of the two. I think that I think Pineda will win here. I think Cub's a tough fighter. And look, I know some sharp guys that are on Cub, but I don't like Cub here. In fact, my percentage on Pineda was a little bit lower than what it is right now. But then you put in those human elements, and my human element here tells me that Pineda beats him. I think that the computer, the number, the percentage, the lower percentage, I don't know why it came out lower. Maybe because, of those 2 no contests or something like that factoring in. But I think Pineda wins this fight.
Next fight is first fight of the main card, and it is Junior Dos Santos, a crowd favorite. Not a better favorite this time because he is plus 300 as of earlier today. Junior Dos Santos is 21-8, 15-6 as far as KOs, TKOs, 1-1 as far as submissions. The Brazilian called Cigano, but he lost his last 3 all by knockout. Two times in 2020. Rosenstroke and Blades, both he got KO'd in the second round. He's fighting Ciryl Gane. The Frenchman is called Van Gaiman. and he is 6-0. 2-0 as far as KOs, TKOs, 3-0 as far as submissions. Fought 4 times in 2019. The over-under in this heavyweight matchup is 1.5 rounds, and as of earlier today, it cost you minus 135 to bet the over in this. Deiveson for Bet Online, where do you have things going?
Yeah, it currently costs minus 185 to bet that over, to take back on the unders plus 155. The betters, the bet tickets are on JDS. Again, it's one of those heavy dogs, man. There's all those small bettors are just betting, looking for the lottery ticket system syndrome. 80% of the bets are on JDS. However, 82% of cash is on the other side. So all I know is JDS, man, if anything's left of his chin, he better use it tonight, because man, six of his last I think losses are all TKO. I mean, man, it's a shame, because he the guy's an icon in the sport, and I don't know how many more punches he can take to that chin.
Yeah, Dave, in his last fight, he looked as good as he's ever looked. He looked phenomenal. He was in terrific shape. And his chin gave out on him in the second round, which is exactly what you're talking about. So, Joey Odessa, does the old guy here, Junior Dos Santos, still have something left in the tank and enough chin to carry him through, or is this going to be the Frenchman taking him out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this fight, and I'm either going to, I'll either walk out of here 2-0 with the fight, or I bet JDS. I bet him small, and I bet over. I just think that he can last. JDS, heavyweights, I mean, look at Arlovsky. He could rattle off 9 losses and stay signed. And JDS, I mean, he's not the JDS of the past, but like you said, I mean, he won that first round against Jair. A different fighter here. The Frenchman, I don't know. I've never been in French with this French guy. Never been impressed with him. Is that what I just said? I think I said that. Yeah, I never been impressed with him, with this French guy. Again, experience at JDS. I think the number's a little bit high. I would have opened up Gane a favorite, but I probably would open him about 2.25. So this is more of a 100-cent difference of what I can take back versus what I open him. And I bet that over. I bumped that over up a little bit. I got it at 1.5 over 30. So
I saw you break it down. A big shout out to our friend Gabe Barenzi with Sports Grid. You guys had a great breakdown the other night on Sports Grid. Dave, is it still plus 300 on JDS? Is that still about the odds?
Plus 340.
Plus 340. So you're taking JDS here as the guy who might still have a little bit of right hand left in him. Right, Joey?
Yes, sir. Yeah. I see in the chat. I was looking in the chat. Valdas at Valdosta123. It's on Twitter. He's one of the sharper boxing guys I've run into over the past 20 years. Been around a long time. I used to do work with him in Jamaica. I see he's in our chat. He said Floyd minus $1 million versus Logan Paul. And he talked about that Hooper stand-up too. I mean, he would know. I mean, this kid, he's good.
Shout out to everybody in our chat. We don't have anybody to monitor their chat room, so we apologize to all you guys for being out there. But thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for everybody who joined our now nationally syndicated radio show today as of Follow the Action. Next fight is a middleweight matchup, more evenly matched up as far as odds as of earlier today, and it is Kevin Holland, who as of earlier today was minus 103. Kevin is 20-5 overall record, 9-0 as far as KOs, TKOs, 7-2 as far as submissions. They call him the Trailblazer. 4 fights in 2020. He's won all of them. 2 KOs, a submission, and a split decision. Fighting, I'm going to get his first name wrong, Jakari Souza. 26. Jacare. Thank you for the correction. Is 3 as far as KOs, TKOs, 14-0 as far as submissions. I don't speak Brazilian. Is that right, Joey?
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, exactly. I was getting ready to throw that out there. I was waiting for you to finish the sentence there.
Jakari Souza is 4-5 in his last 9 fights. 1-4, lost 5. He lost his last 2. Both were 5-round fights. The middleweight matchup has 2.5 as the over-under, and it is evenly split as of earlier today. minus 110, minus 110. Dave Mason from Bet Online. I don't know if you speak Brazilian or Mexico, but it's.
I speak Portuguese. Jacare. Jacare's now.
Dave, we had a joke last week.
Inside joke. That's what I figured.
Yeah.
Some kind of.
Yeah. So, Dave, where do you got the money?
All right. The bettors are on Holland. 69% of the bets are on Holland, but the cash is 50-50. The odds right now, it's almost a coin flip. Jacare's minus 112. Holland's minus 108. The over-under's 2.5, and that's about a coin flip too. Minus 110 on the over. 79% of the action is on the under. There is some sharp action on Souza at even or better. Jacare.
And Joey, what do you have on this fight?
I like Holland here. I think Holland wins this fight. I took plus money with Holland. Didn't he open the favorite, Dave? You said he opened the favorite, right?
Holland, yeah, minus 130.
Yeah, I also saw a what did I see? I saw a minus 175 on Holland. I think they had it right the first time.
It went up, yeah.
I think that minus 175 on Holland is, I think Holland should be the favorite here over Jacare. And I'm a Jacare fan, but I just don't think he's looked too good. I mean, his last time he won, who did he beat? He beat Weidman. When's the last time Weidman looked good? I just think that, Jacare, he's 41 years old. I mean, he fell in love with his hands instead of his ground game. And I think Kevin Holland will be smart enough to, I could also see Jacare work. I could see Jacare just clinching, working, getting Holland's back and choking him. But I don't think that's going to happen. That's the old Jacare, works his way up snake-like and just chokes him out. You know what I mean? Gets his back. But this is a different Jacare than even fought Gastelum a few years back. I like Kevin Holland here, and I bet Kevin Holland.
Next fight is a strawweight matchup, a woman's fight. Both have one loss. Mackenzie Dern, as of earlier today, was a minus 175 favorite. She is 0-0 as far as KOs, TKOs, but the Brazilian is 6-0 as far as submissions. She fought twice in 2020. She won against Marcos in September and won against Cyphers in May. Both were submissions in the first round. Her sole loss came to Amanda Ribas, a unanimous decision of October 2019. Fighting Virna Jandiroba, another Brazilian who's 16-1. She also has no knockouts to her credit and has not been knocked out herself. 13 submissions to her credit. She has fought one time in 2020. She won a submission in the first round, Felice Herrig. Her sole loss came to Carla Esparza, a unanimous decision in April of 2019. The strawweight matchup, the 2.5 is the over-under round total. You get plus 155 to bet the over in this. Dave Mason from Bet Online, where do you have the money going?
The money's on 68% of the money's on Dern. Majority of the bets, however, 56% of the bets are on the other side, Jandiroba, and 77% of the tickets are on the over 2.5, which is currently minus 160. Nothing too sharp here at Bet Online.
Joey Odessa, what do you have in this women's strawweight matchup?
I like Mackenzie Dern here, and I followed this Jandiroba, in her last bout when she fought Felice Herrig. We bet under there. Remember, she was the first one to ever stop Felice Herrig. So I was, it's not that I'm not a fan of Jandiroba, but I like Dern here. I think Dern beats her. I think you can put a lot of credibility into that stoppage of Herrig, but. I don't. I'm kind of throwing that out. Her win against Martin and her loss with the Spars. I think Mackenzie Dern is good enough to beat her. Might even stop her. I think that Mackenzie Dern might stop her. It's funny. I every time I look at this Jandiroba, I think if Gilbert Martinez and Amanda Nunes had a daughter, like if you just look at the mug on her, I mean, she looks like a cross between Gilbert Martinez and Amanda Nunes. Am I right, Dave? I mean, she really does. She got that one eye that blows.
Melendez, Gilbert Melendez, or
what's that? She looks a little like both of them combined. Like they morph.
They morph in it. Yeah, man, I could see it.
Photoshopped them together.
Joey Odessa playing Charles Darwin on Follow It.
Yes.
And Joey, you bet Dern, right?
Yes. If you combine them, no, that's not her skill set. Her skill set does not match up to her looks, MMA-wise. Right? You got to look at her, see it, and you'll know what I'm talking about.
We'll leave it at that. Next fight is looking forward to this next fight. Tony Ferguson, a lightweight matchup. 26-4. Tony is 12-1 as far as KOs, TKOs, 9-1 as far as submissions. Fought one time in 2020. It was a loss, KO in the 5th round to Justin Gaethje. He won his previous 12. His last loss was in 2012. Fighting Charles Oliveira, 29-8. He's 8-4 as far as KOs, TKOs, 19-3 as far as submissions. The Brazilian fought one time in 2020. He won over Kevin Lee, a submission in the 3rd. He has won his last 7 fights. Dave Mason from Bet Online, where do you have the money in this lightweight matchup?
The money and the bettors are on El Kukui, Tony Ferguson. 66% of the bettors and 68% of the cash are on Ferguson. Over-under is pretty split. 53% is on the over. We did take some sharp action on Oliveira at plus 150-ish.
And Joey Odessa, where do you have your money going?
You know, I believe I'm going to bet Ferguson in this fight. Not that I'm in love with it. I think the bout goes over. But, this Tony Ferguson is weird. And we're going to know in this bout, my theory is that Tony Ferguson overtrains. I think he just overtrained. I think he overtrained for Justin Gaethje. And I think that, I think it's been, he's been fortunate enough that his body's kept up, with that overtraining, even though he was injured, had an injury, had some time off. I think Tony Ferguson's overtrained. I think he's the better of these two fighters, at 100%. But again, I just like over. I like over. Gaethje crushed him. Wasn't even close. And it's probably a low price for Ferguson here, considering, people were consistent. I mean, they piled on Ferguson when he fought Gaethje. They actually thought Ferguson was going to beat Khabib. I didn't. They thought, again, they didn't fight, so you don't know. But, if Ferguson went out here and laid an egg, it would not surprise me. But I think the bout goes over. I mean, I do like Ferguson, but I bet over.
You bet the over, and you haven't bet Ferguson yet.
I haven't bet him yet, but I might. I sure might. We'll see how the undercard goes, see what's going on.
All right. We're to the main event, so I'm going to recap the entire night. We got 9 fights before the main event. We'll go over that right now. First fight, Chase Hooper, Peter Barrett. 77% of bets were on Chase Hooper. Joey passed on this fight. 84% of the bets were on the under in that fight. Next fight, Tecia Torres versus Sam Hughes. 78% of the bets were on Sam Hughes, who's plus 450. No sharp money to speak of, according to Dave Mason from Bet Online, and 71% of the public was on the under. Next fight, Gavin Tucker, Billy Quarantillo. This fight has sharp action, was on Quarantillo at minus 125. Joey liked that, but thought the price had gone away from him a little too much, so he didn't take it. Next fight is Fiziev versus Moicano. Sharp money took Moicano at plus 130, according to Dave Mason from Bet Online. Joey also took sharp Moicano. Next fight, Cub Swanson versus Daniel Pineda. 72% of the cash was on Pineda. Joey Odessa was also on Pineda. Joey said that he did know some sharp money that was on Cub Swanson. 72% of the public was on the under in this fight between Cub Swanson and Daniel Pineda. Next fight is the main card. Junior Dos Santos, a huge underdog to Ciryl Gane. Joey likes the over in this fight. 82% of the cash was on the Frenchman. Joey also is taking a nibble on Junior Dos Santos at plus 300 or better. Next fight, middleweight matchup. Kevin Holland and Jakare Souza. Souza had some sharp money going for him, according to Dave Mason from Bet Online. 79% of the money was on the under. Joey, however, liked Kevin Holland and did place a bet on Kevin Holland. Next fight matchup, women's strawweight matchup, Mackenzie Dern. Joey put a bet on Mackenzie Dern. 77% of the money was on the over. No sharp action to speak of from Dave Mason at Bet Online. Next fight, Tony Ferguson, Charles Oliveira. Joey liked Ferguson, has not placed a bet, though. yet on Ferguson. He may, but he does like the over and did bet the over. Some sharp money was on the Brazilian at plus 150. So now we are to the main event. Flyweight matchup. Deiveson Figueiredo is 20-1. He is 9-0 as far as KOs, TKOs, 8-0 as far as submissions. His last 5 fights, 3 have been title matches, and not one of those 3 fights has gone out of the second round. His last 2 fights were a first-round submission victory in those title matches. This is the quickest turnaround for a title match in history at 21 days. The previous record was 56 days. For a contender, it's also a record, 21 days. The previous record there was 28 days. Brandon Moreno will be the first Mexican-born person in the UFC to be a champion if he finds a way to win against Figueiredo. He's 18-5-1, 3-0 as far as KOs, TKOs, 10-0 as far as submissions. Never been stopped. He's fought 2 times in 2020. He won against Royal Vol, and he also won against the person who beat Figueiredo, Formiga. His flyweight matchup is your main event for the championship. Dave Mason from BetOnline, where do you have the money going?
Yeah, Figueiredo, the champ, 85% of the cash, 55% of the tickets are on Figueiredo. 70% is on the over 2.5, which is currently minus 120. Nothing too sharp here.
Joy Odessa, what do you have in this main event title matchup?
I bet Figueiredo, and I'm going to bet him. I'm hoping it goes down. Look, Figueiredo's legit, man. And all week I was trying to, in my head I was looking at Figueiredo, and I said, I compared him to John Jones and Khabib, in that Khabib and John Jones, they were both underdogs, and I know I've said this over and over on shows this week. But what I was trying to put together is Figueiredo is one of those guys, like when you catch a streak, some guys you catch a streak with John Jones, Khabib. Khabib was undervalued in his first couple bouts, and then he caught a streak. Now he's 25-0. John Jones, same thing. He was a dog against Guzmão. He caught a streak. This Figueiredo, it's Cejudo. Cejudo lost 2 bouts in a row, and his stock went down, and then he caught that nice streak. You look at Cejudo now, and you say, wow, he's one of the, he retired a champ. 2-division champ. My point that I'm getting long in the tooth here saying this, but I think Figueiredo, I don't think it's too late to jump on the streak with Figueiredo. Now he's a 3-1 favorite. That's pretty, that's kind of a high number, but I think that Moreno kind of stumbled into this spot. I like Deiveson Figueiredo here. I think that he will, and it sounds, you'll say, well, you're not going out on a limb, but Moreno's never been stopped. And I think that Figueiredo will stop Moreno at some point in this fight. I think he's that much better of a fighter. Sure, he had that hiccup to Formiga, and Moreno's got a win over Formiga, which might have kept this fight from being minus 500. Maybe the short turnaround. Look, I don't think Figueiredo takes this fight unless he thinks he can win it. And I look at him and I say, everything tells me, just like with Joe B, that he's in the zone right now. I think he's peaking. I think he's looking as good as he's ever looked. That loss to Formiga, I think you can throw that loss in the trash. He lost all 3 rounds. And again, I'm going to have egg on my face if Figueiredo goes out there and lays an egg. But, that Formiga fight, when Brazilians fight Brazilians, and I've said this over and over, weird shit happens, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because guys are have so much pressure on them to be a representative of the country of Brazil, even though they have their city rivalries, Sao Paulo and Rio and whatnot. Anyways, I think that Figueiredo wins this fight. And I think it might be the last time you see Figueiredo at a, that low of a price. And I say that at minus 300. I mean, who are they going to put in there with him right now? I'd like to see Cejudo come back. But again, I think Figueiredo, I don't think it's too late to jump on the bandwagon.
What happened with Formiga? I mean, you lose all 3 rounds, and then you have Moreno beat Formiga. How do you reconcile that? I mean, I watched what you said all week long. I saw you with Gabe Moranci on Sports Grid. I understand it. I agree with what you're saying. But how do you reconcile that? I mean, that seems like a huge flashing red light.
I think that, I just think that Formiga had a good night. Sometimes, I mean, that's what that separates. It's not easy, obviously. to show up every night. From wrestling. I mean, some nights you just you're just not feeling it. You're having a bad week, and I feel that way about Figueiredo. I mean, he did have a problem making weight against Benavidez the first time when he smashed him, but again, I don't know. I think that I just think that Formiga had a good night. Look, what's his name there? Figueiredo. He beat that John Moraga, who I used to think quite a bit of, a good, honest fight, knocked him out second round. But again, 2019, March of 2019. I'm looking here at the chart here. I just think he had an off night, man. He had a pretty long layoff. That's another thing. His layoff, wasn't August of 2018 till March of 2019. That's not that long, but he had two fights. Yeah, I mean, I think he's staying active. I think an active Figueiredo's a winning Figueiredo. I mean, he's got all these fights on, closing the distance here. I think that again, I think Formiga had a good night that night, matched up well with him, won all 3 rounds. An off night for Figueiredo, and it happens. But I think Figueiredo's a good champ, a really good champ. Could be a great champ if he wasn't in the shadow of Cejudo retiring.
Right. Well, there you have it, guys. There is Follow the Action. We thank you for joining us. That was the entire breakdown of the entire UFC card tonight. A huge thank you to the supermodel, who is too good-looking to be seen, apparently, on video, from what we understand. That is Mr. Dave Mason from down in the equator, way down in Central America. Dave, thank you very much, as always, for joining us. And for Joey Odessa, best combat sports handicapper in the world, myself, John Layfield, good luck tonight on the UFC. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, fellas. Enjoy the fights tonight.
All right.
Good luck,
Take care, guys.
Later.
All right.
We're still live, Joey, so good luck to you.
All right. Thanks,
Thanks,
baby. Text me later. All right. Bye.
Yep.
The end of the fight, he has some injury in his right shoulder. But what happened before, I was dominating the fight on my feet with my striking combinations, and on the ground, wrestling, I did stand, almost missed him. So I won the fight. Figueiredo versus Barrett. To start. Do que vai acontecer na luta. Ver que ele tá medo de jogar.